of water, and you don't need as much as you might think to get a
Hey, joy. Having technical difficulties for the CSAP meeting. I can see the meeting like I can, it's like I'm joining the meeting, but there's no audio. I don't get no audio. I can't hear them. And since the state board computer can't hear them, the streaming can't hear them. I went to WRL to make sure my volume and audio was working. I can hear videos from WRL fine, but for some reason I can't hear the meeting. It's like that's I wonder if it's someone on her end. She's not. Something's going on. I'm not hearing. I don't have audio. They said they can hear each other fine. People in the meeting, other people in the meeting, but I can't hear. I can't hear them at all. And since I can't hear them, the streaming can't hear them. Let me turn the streaming off right now. Streaming, nothing.
This is a model school we want to represent. Want to grow. So let's do a roll call vote.
Okay. Jeanette Butterworth. Aye. Bruce Friend.
Aye.
Rita Hare. Aye. Lynn Kroger.
Aye.
Okay. Hilda Parlay.
Approve.
Alex Quigley.
Approve.
Sherry Reeves.
Aye.
Cheryl Turner.
Aye.
Stephen Walker.
Aye.
All right, passes unanimously. We have one final amendment for you today. This one comes from Pave Southeast Raleigh Charter School. They are seeking a request to separate from its EMO. This is an amendment that requires state board approval based on the amendment policy. The Pave Southeast Raleigh is a charter school operating in Wake County. They currently serve grades K to 6. When they their original charter application had an agreement with Pave Schools Inc., which I believe is out somewhere in the out of the Northeast, and they are now deciding to terminate that. They've given a few reasons for that. The first one is that the original management agreement was scheduled to expire at the end of June of this year. So that gave them an opportunity to review that and decide if they wanted to continue with it. They believe that they can now operate independently. They have a healthy and stable budget, and enrollment, has been established as stable. They recently received a 5-year renewal. And then in addition to that, Pave Network is no longer planning to open or operate charter schools in North Carolina. So this was just kind of a transition that made sense for all of the parties involved. The school has submitted a fairly thorough transition agreement, which was uploaded for you to review in eBoard. And then there's also a human resources transition plan that kind of laid out the steps of the detailed steps of what was going to take place, so that the Pave School in Raleigh could now operate independently. Any questions on this one?
Okay, does anybody have any questions? I think Alex is recused on this one. All right, it makes sense to me. They had that agreement, and if Pave's not going to be operating in North Carolina, it makes sense for them to break apart. Do we have a motion on this?
This Bruce Friend, I'll make a motion that we this recommendation to separate from the.
I'll second the motion, Sherry Reeves.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion or debate? All right, if not, Ashley, if you'll call the roll.
Jeanette. Aye. Bruce Friend.
Aye.
Rita Hare.
Aye.
Lynn Kroger.
Aye.
Hilda Parlay.
Aye.
Alex Quigley. Oh, sorry, recused.
Recused.
Yes. Sherry Reeves.
Aye.
Cheryl Turner.
Aye.
Stephen Walker.
Aye.
All right, it passes unanimously, and that is your final amendment today.
All right, so next we're on the strategic calendar.
Yes. And this is each year, for especially for our new board members, what the Office of Charter Schools does is put together a strategic calendar. It is really just a guiding document for the CSAB and the OCS, our work together. it lays out the duties and powers of the board and of the Office of Charter Schools. And then through each month, it kind of guides us with what we, the main topics we are looking at. This is obviously something that is subject to change, but it is something that we usually look at in July as we start the new year. I've laid out in each month some of our big items, also some of the big state board votes. So as you'll see for this July, obviously charter applications are due at the end of the month. So that is a big item on our timeline. This is also the final vote for RTO, which took place last week at the state board meeting. And then as you continue through this calendar, it kind of lays the groundwork for the main tasks that we will confront either as the Office of Charter Schools or the CSAB as we work together. Are there any questions?
Do we have anything in here reflecting an adjusted timeline for potentially the application cycle?
Yes, I amended this year's strategic calendar to more closely align with the new timeline. So, instead of clarification interviews, we now are doing more of a round 1, round 2. And then it also has the deadline, for example, in November of the state board voting on fast track applications. So this is more in line with the new timeline. And then for each board members, just for your information for you to have on hand, I've also uploaded the revised meeting calendar, which we have approved at a previous meeting, the charter application timeline for this next cycle, which has also been approved by the state board. So those are just kind of administrative items for you to be able to review as needed.
In terms of the applications, do we have many applications? Are those?
Dave might be able to give a better update.
Yeah, when I we at our staff meeting on Friday, talked to Dr. Jones, and I think he might be on the line where you can add to it, but we have a lot more applications in the system than we really actually had anticipated. So I'm going to guess we're going to have 25 to 30 applications. But it all depends on who actually completes them. Dr. Jones, would you like to add to that? I guess he's not online, but again, we do anticipate having probably between 25 and 30.
All right, we'll see how this goes.
All right, if there's no questions on this, we don't have to vote on this. This is really just for our office and for the CSAB to, as reference as we continue our work. But you usually do vote on chair and vice chair at the July meeting, and then we can also review the committee assignments, whichever you would like to do first.
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Yes.
Can I make one nomination for both and vote once, or do they need to be done separately?
I don't know.
Well, I'm going to make a motion that Alex Quigley is our chair and Cheryl Turner is our vice chair.
Mr. Chair, I would second that and ask that nominations be closed. Stephen Walker.
All right. Thank you, Sherry. I feel a little awkward facilitating this, so I'll let Ashley take it.
Okay. So we have Alex Quigley nominated as chair and Cheryl Turner nominated as vice chair. Is there any discussion on the motion?
I do have some discussion. I'll say, I think Alex has done a great job as the chair. And I've been honored to be your vice chair for like 6 years now or something like that. I mean, it's something crazy. And the way things go, as many of y'all know, I sit as the lieutenant governor's designee on this board, which means that December 31st, I am no longer a member of the Charter School Advisory Board. And so when leadership was talking about this, I said, you know, it's time to get somebody else, both doing the vice chair work and somebody that can serve a whole term of doing it. And on top of that, it's time to get somebody else on the policy committee, being the chair of it too, so that they would be there and I could be around to help at least for these next 5.5 months. But it's been an honor working with y'all and serving in that leadership role. You know, it's just been great. And Cheryl is going to make an awesome vice chair. She knows this stuff better than I do, better than anybody does. And she's been doing this for so long. So I'm really very supportive of this. Alex and Cheryl going to make a great team.
Thanks, Stephen, for your kind words, and no, I feel equally about being able to work alongside you and everything that you brought to this board over what seems like the many years that we've been doing this now. And glad that we have you for a little bit longer on the board, and you're certainly going to be very missed in so many ways, but we also know you'll be a strong advocate for charter schools regardless of where you are and what you're doing in the state. And Cheryl, I would look forward to working with you.
Okay, any more discussion? All right, I'm going to take a roll call vote. Jeanette Butterworth,
Absolutely. Aye.
Bruce Friend,
Emphatically, yes.
Rita Hare,
Aye.
Lynn Kroger,
Aye.
Hilda Parlay,
Enthusiastically approved.
Alex Quigley,
Aye.
Sherry Reeves, well, she made the motion, so I think we're good. Cheryl Turner,
Aye, and I'd like to make a comment once the vote is done.
okay. Heather's not here. Stephen Walker,
Aye.
okay, it passes unanimously.
Alex, can I make a comment? Alex?
Absolutely, Cheryl.
Okay, I appreciate the vote of confidence. I have to say, Stephen, that you are a huge loss to this board, and I will definitely be calling on you for assistance. During the time you're here, you have really contributed a lot, and we're going to miss you when you leave.
Thank you for that, Cheryl. I'll miss y'all too.
I'll miss you too, Stephen. You are wonderful and very effective. Thank you so much for your service.
All right. Well, nobody go anywhere yet because you're not out of the application work yet, Stephen. Especially since there's one application in the system, which is wow. That's a lot. So we'll see how many of those shake out. That's more than I think we anticipated. So we need to talk about the committee assignments, and I think what makes sense is probably just to maintain these committee assignments as they currently are, just moving Cheryl to the chair of the policy committee. But then Stephen can stay on that committee for now, if that makes sense.
That works for me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. And then,
Me too.
okay, great. So we'll, I don't believe that requires a vote, so we can just leave those. And then I do just wanted to bring up the, well, a couple things, just the board terms. I was just looking at those. And I just want the Office of Charter Schools to be mindful that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people's terms expiring in June of next year. So that's a lot, and I'm not sure. Dave, kind of, if we're just, you know, my personal opinion is it takes a while to kind of get the experience necessary to and get comfortable with being on the board and all the responsibilities, evaluating applications, et cetera. So I'm certainly in favor of consistency. So those people that are eligible to continue on the board, I'm in favor of that happening and we even have some folks whose term, because they're filling a term, you know, they haven't been on the board because they're replacing someone for that long, so they should be eligible to be reappointed. But that's just something we want to make sure we're not losing sight of as we head into the next legislative session. Dave, I don't know if you've given anything to that, or Stephen, if you have any thoughts.
It's going to depend on election. I mean, you know, who's going to be making those appointments in the House and the Senate?
Yep.
Ashley and Chair Quigley.
Yes.
On the list, mine is noted as the start term is 2017. But that was the end of my first term, and I think that should be 2020.
That is on there, Hilda, because you took over another person's term. I think it was, let me see, Linda Lynn's.
Right.
You were appointed to fill her unexpired term. So, that's why we keep it like that.
Oh, okay. Just checking to make sure it's correct. So she was on policy, right? Rather than what I'm on now?
I believe so, yes.
Oh, okay, good. Thanks for the clarification.
You're welcome.
No, Ashley, Linda Lynn is Performance Committee, and that's what Hilda will be.
Performance. Okay, I'll have to look at the other one.
Right, okay.
The list is wrong on that.
All right. So just wanted to flag that for everyone, and then if we could just pull up the meeting calendar really quickly. So no meeting next month. And then, you know, right now, I think that hope to meet in person, but not sure when that will be possible. So, but just make sure that you've marked your calendars for those days coming forward. And I think that's it. And we're about 15 minutes behind, but we're ready for the Cyber Academy update.
Okay, I believe, Mr. Hill, are you available?
I'm available. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Thank you.
All right. Morning, Mr. Chair and board members. Thanks for the opportunity to present again about our progress. I want to ask Mr. Mullins, the Chief Operations Officer, to review a few highlights, and then ask our President, Jill Hammergren, to close it out, and we'll open it up for questions at your pleasure. Mr. Mullins?
Thank you, Mr. Hill and board members. I just wanted to start out this morning for a couple of minutes talking about enrollment, if I could, to update the board. I know we sent the information to you, but as of close of business day Friday, we had 1,885 students that have intent to return for the 2021 school year. And we have an additional 115 students that have submitted all documents for enrollment, and then 264 students that have submitted all documents are in phase 1 of placement. So when you add those numbers together, we're at 2,264 students that are ready to be placed in courses and classes. And then in addition to the 2,264 students, we have 1,497 students on the wait list that we're pulling students from every week, about 100 to 125 students each week into the document verification process. And so when you add our students that have submitted everything along with the wait list, we have 3,761 students that are either ready to be placed or have expressed an interest in coming to North Carolina Cyber Academy. So obviously our cap's 2,592, and we're at 3,761 potential students. And so we'll be pulling from that wait list, and we don't foresee an issue meeting cap. You know, last year we did not meet cap. So that's an enrollment update. And I think since the last time we spoke to the board, we've signed a contract with Acadia North Star. Acadia is going to handle our financial services. They started July 1. We're transitioning with the Simon Craig Group through August. So Simon Craig Group and Acadia will work together through July and August. And also, in addition to the financial services, Acadia North Star is also going to provide us with Power School support. And some of the questions were asked, you know, that's really the significant operational change as we look at the 2021 school year is bringing on Acadia to help us again with financial services and Power School support. And then we changed up and going to have Edgenuity teaching some more of our courses for the 2021 school year, which will provide more elective courses for our students this upcoming school year. So we've eliminated some what we consider some positions that were not essential, trimming some of the administrative positions as opposed to the 1920 school year, and using Edgenuity in a broader scale the upcoming school year as well. So Mr. Hill, that's what I have from an operational standpoint is we're changing up a little bit of how we offer courses, and we provided the update to the board about Acadia. And I'll take any questions if the board or Mr. Hill this group has any at the end or whenever you may want to ask any questions. Thank you, Mr. Hill.
Thank you, Madam President Hammergren.
Yes, thank you very much. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
I can hear you.
Okay, great. So I just wanted to follow up on what Mr. Mullins was just saying. As you've heard, that we have a tremendous enrollment numbers for this year. We have an astronomical demand for our virtual curriculum. And due to the unusual situation the state, the nation, and the world for that matter faces with COVID-19 pandemic, we want to take this opportunity to request that the Charter School Advisory Board consider and recommend to the State Board of Education that North Carolina Cyber Academy be allowed to grow our enrollment by 20%. That would be able to enable us to accept an additional 520 students for the 2020-21 school year. And as you heard, we have almost 1,500 on our waiting list right now. And I want to give you some reasons why we believe that we are positioned to and poised to accept that growth. As Mr. Mullins mentioned, we have done a partnership with Acadia North Star to manage our finances and to better navigate the Power School system. And as you know, this company works for more than 100 North Carolina charter schools, and we're excited about learning from their expertise. Additionally, in March, we named Martez Hill as our interim superintendent at that time. And we're very excited to say that as of the end of our June board meeting, we have extended the role of superintendent to Mr. Hill and removed the interim title from that position. And we're very excited about what he's been able to bring to us in the last few months. He's been very innovative and helping move us forward in a very wonderful way. We have expanded our partnership with Edgenuity, and we did report that to CSAB meeting last year, couple months ago. And we expanded our relationship so that we can listen to our requests of our parents and our teachers. We've decided to offer some more career technical placement and advanced placement courses. And this is in an effort for us to help all students have career and college opportunities going forward. We've also hired a school improvement expert, which many of you know, Dr. Chris Vecchione. He's our high school principal. Many of you have worked with him on the board and were perhaps trained by him as well. He's leading.
Can I just pause you for a second, Ms. Hamgren?
Sure.
I just wanted to clarify, do we have like a written amendment request for this, or is this just being made right now?
It's being made. Sorry, yes, it's being made right now because we just wanted to reflect on this, and we will go ahead and make an amendment, but you have to, the Charter School Advisory Board has to take that under advisement and consideration and take it to the school board. And so we just want to put it on your radar because this is kind of a fast track situation, given the COVID-19 situation, that we would like to be able to accommodate so many more students who really have these needs right now.
Yeah, is there a reason why you didn't submit an amendment request earlier?
I think the reason was that we wanted to make sure that we got through this full school year, given the situation that we were in with trying to do some improvements, and also knowing that the uncertainty of the COVID-19, we weren't sure where it was going to go for this past school year. And so we just wanted to let you know that as of now, we have almost 3,000 students who are very interested in being involved with our school.
Yeah, the issue is simply, it's a pretty significant amendment for us to make and recommendation to make to the state board. And then right now, in order to do that, we'd either have to decide today or schedule another meeting because we don't have an August meeting. And
right.
By then it'll be too late for you all to do this. So,
well, and that's,
we had known that this was coming.
Actually, sir, we just decided that this should be something that we should think about, given that we're at time frame with the schools, the state is starting to look at trying to figure out how to get schools back open. And we took a really hard look over the weekend on how we are positioned, and if there's a way to implement this in a quick, timely fashion. We do recognize that this would require some additional work from the Charter School Advisory Board. And we're happy to work with you in any way to try to see.
So you're kind of saying you just made the call that you're going to explore whether or not this is feasible for you?
Right, and we would love to work with you to see if that's a possibility of trying to even make it work for the 2021 school year.
Alex, this is Lynn Kroger. One of the things I'd be concerned about is, I'm not sure with the virtual schools how the funding is, but I know with traditional charter schools, you have to submit your max ADM enrollment by first week of June. And that's what your funding is based on, and you can't exceed that. If you do, you don't get paid for that. So that's another thing to maybe kind of consider I'm not sure if it's a little different for virtuals or not.
Also, wasn't that cap that they're at, wasn't that legislative?
So as I understand, the cap was mandated legislatively, but the State Board of Education has been given the authority to increase the cap. And one thing that we're also considering, and frankly, I need to review our law to take a look at whether we can use our fund balance to think about how we might go above the 2592. In having conversations with board members and with our board chair, I thought it would be good for us to simply put this on the table, knowing that it would be a heavy lift. But we are not just looking at the August enrollment, but we're looking at next semester's enrollment as well, beginning in January. Many of our courses are semester based. And, so we're having conversations internally about, frankly, our capacity, to ensure that we provide great service for the 2592. But, given this unusual situation we're in and the high demand that we're witnessing, we just wanted to begin having some conversations with you and not necessarily expect you to act on this too quickly.
This is Mr. Friend. Certainly understand the high demand for full-time virtual learning. Given what we're facing, I think one of the questions that I would have to beyond the demand though is to be able to look at some data about how students performed last year. I think that's a question we would be asking in the charter school. They would ask them to increase their enrollment, whether they be virtual or brick and mortar. So maybe that data can be provided to us as well.
So the school has been deemed low performing and has not performed well over the last 4 years. What we are looking at doing is putting in place some research-based practices and focusing on various inputs that we believe will improve teaching and learning. In addition to some of the things that President Hammergren is speaking about, I've had conversations with Dr. Tammy Howard to participate in the North Carolina check-ins, for example. And we think that would help to provide some additional touch points throughout the school year, to measure our students' performance and our teachers' ability to effectively instruct our kids.
And I commend you on that. I just would go back to, it was last year at this time that we approved a separation from the former EMO, and there was the thinking behind that was that we would see increased student performance. It's been a year, so I'm just asking for what the from the past year. Have you started to see those positive trends in student performance data? And again, we're not going to make the decision today, but I would just say that's a point that I want to look at.
I want Ashley to jump in here and share a little bit on process.
Thank you. So this is Ashley Becerra from the Office of Charter Schools. In terms of the timeline we would be looking at, because you do not have an August meeting, if you were to go forward with this amendment request, a few things would need to take place. You would probably need to vote on it today, because I am required to turn in all of the materials by the 15th, which is Wednesday. So I would need a vote, and I would need all of the materials that go to State Board by the 15th. That's a deadline that is not set by our office, and that is, a very strict deadline. That would enable the State Board to make a decision at their August meeting. So just in terms of timeline, that's what we'll be looking at. It would be a very quick turnaround, and which is why I usually have the materials, submitted like a month prior. I will also say that there was a request for an enrollment expansion, I believe several months ago, from Cyber. It could have been, I would have to look back through the records. It was not recommended for approval. And then North Carolina Virtual did recently also make a request to stay at their enrollment, which is a little bit under 3,000, I believe. They had previously had a state board approval. The state board was reluctant to allow them to continue above the cap because of their low performing status, but they did because of, I think, because of concerns about COVID and the unique situation we are in. And they did also put a stipulation on NC Virtual that NC Virtual must meet growth next year in order for them to continue to operate above the cap. So those are just, that's just some background I'd like to give you as the board is making, a decision and discussion along these lines.
Chairman, quickly, this is Dave Machado. It would be taken to state board in August for discussion and then voted on in September. That'd be the earliest we'd be able to get it through. They would not just vote on this on action on first read. I think Mr. Hill is very familiar with that process.
Right.
And I'm not I'm very uncomfortable asking you to vote, CSAB to vote on this today without all the proper documentation. We've never brought an amendment request to you without the proper documentation.
Well, I don't think Cyber is asking us to vote.
No, sir, we're not. We just wanted to bring it to your attention that we feel like we are poised to be able to help the students in North Carolina, especially given the COVID-19 pandemic that keeps stretching out. And we're willing to work with you in ways to try to either expedite it or try to, obviously go through the right proper channels. We just wanted to bring that to your attention that we are in that position.
Yeah, I appreciate your transparency in it. I think my hesitation, I'll be honest, very, excited by all we've seen from Cyber in the last few months, particularly with Martez's addition as the executive director and the team and the work that the board's done, the work that his team has put together. I think I have some serious reservations about, pushing to go, even despite the pandemic situation, which certainly seems like a unique and potential wonderful opportunity to expand virtual learning for parents that are needing it, or at least at this time perceive they're needing it. I think I think we run the risk of getting in that situation where, yes, just because you can do something or could help parents doesn't mean you should. In this case, not that, because if it detracts from the very important work that has to happen for Cyber to go from the situation that it's been in to really be winning on the key areas that it needs to win on. And I think, it's almost like, it's that hedgehog principle. What are the things that you're really going to get right? And in order to say you're going to get right some things, you might have to say no to some really other attractive opportunities because you're that committed to getting the core components of the program right. So I also wonder, I imagine that I just wouldn't, I don't know if I were in your shoes, I would have a lot of skepticism about the numbers, because I think you have a lot of parents that are freaking out. And when their districts decide that they are, maybe you're going to see more people gravitate towards the virtual options that are provided by the districts. We're going to, I just think things are there's a lot of fluidity and a lot of uncertainty in the ecosystem right now. And so, while certainly 1,500 students on the wait list is great, I don't know how much you can trust those numbers or trust that those parents are going to be with you for the long haul and are invested in the way that I think you have at least articulated to us that you need to see parents in order to the level of investment that you need to see for them to be successful in the virtual context, or that, which is why so many schools are pushing to bring kids back into a brick and mortar building despite the challenges, because it is so hard to do this successfully. So those are my initial thoughts and reactions.
Alex, this is Cheryl. I would not be in favor of voting on an amendment that doesn't even actually exist as an amendment yet. And then sending that forward without ever even seeing what it actually said. I just don't think that.
And I don't think we're going to. I don't think it's not that they're not asking for that at all. I don't think.
No.
Okay, then I don't understand the ask. What is the ask?
The ask was more really just
trying to be transparent. That was my understanding. They were trying to share, okay, we're thinking about this now, and we as a board are going to think about it some more, and just kind of give us a heads up that it may be coming. And I think, I think it's helpful for our board to share where we're thinking on this and kind of what our reaction is to it. That's why I shared my reaction. So if people have feedback about that, or if folks from Cyber, if you just want to continue, we can ask more questions, or
yes,
any other
I believe what we'll do is we will pull together some more information and start working with you on what that might look like in the future.
Madam President, you have anything else?
Well, I was just going to finish with a couple of our additional reasons why we felt like we're positioned. But I did want to tell you that we also, in addition to hiring Dr. Vecchione for our school improvement opportunities, we have also adopted the North Carolina STAR school improvement tool and processes to improve our efforts in all grades, K through 5, 6 through 8, and 9 through 12. And we have ramped up our work with our counselors. We recognize that academics are absolutely the key in everything. But in order for our students to achieve academic excellence, we also need to focus on their social and emotional learning too. And this year, we had our counselors start reviewing transcripts and implementing workshops for our high school students to make sure they're on track to graduate. And we've implemented credit recovery courses and summer school courses as well. And we are operating our educational efforts in a more deliberate and strategic way than has ever done in the past. So we are fully dedicated to ensure academic excellence. And these are several of the things that we've just implemented since March. So we've made some major changes to the school. Right.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. Yep. Happy to answer any other questions. Dr. Hill, did you have anything else?
I do not. And as our president said, we'll be more than happy to answer any questions, and thanks for your feedback.
Yep, we appreciate it.
And frankly, I'm really excited about the path that we're going down, but I'm also really humble in terms of the real challenges that we're going to continue to confront. So, thank you again.
Thank you. All right. I believe at this time we're ready for the renewal policy discussion. And Nope, we're going to talk performance framework. Sorry. Jumped ahead there.
Okay. Joseph, I'm just pulling it up for you.
Great. Good morning, CSAB. I hope you can all hear me okay. I did test my audio earlier. Sometimes I have an echo. Can you all hear me okay?
Yep, you're good, Joseph.
Great. Okay, thanks, Alice. Give it a thumbs up. Okay, good morning, CSAB. So I'm presenting this morning the 2018-19 Charter Schools Performance Framework Report. I'll try to be quick. I know we're behind a bit and I have quite a few slides, so we'll just plug on ahead. Ashley, if you'd be so kind. So kind of overview, this hasn't changed. The board education goals, they did update their strategic plan, but thankfully, not only are we looking at the 18-19 year in this report, but the actual part of the strategic plan as it applies to this and charter schools is very seamless, going from the goals that they had 2.2, 2.4, et cetera, seamlessly transition into the new strategy. So I think it's goal 2, and we'll get to that in a little bit. So Ashley, if you could go ahead. And just another recap, standard tool for reporting progress, consolidated view of charter school performance across the state. It's a monitoring tool we take seriously for academic, operational, and financial accountability. And they are governed by state board policy, charter agreement, and general statute. And this is one of the changes we made last year was staggering out the schedule for submitted items. We've received very positive feedback from schools across the state. Rather than waiting till the end of the school year to get everything in that our office reviews, we start in September through the online epicenter system. And we've received very positive feedback with that tool. It certainly makes it easier on our team rather than going through Outlook, SharePoint, and those kinds of tools that were used in the past. We do review over 3,300 submitted documents. We really do read them thoroughly and try to give thorough, proactive feedback. We are, after all, trying to look out for our schools. If there's anything that they may have missed, we do try to advise them on items that need to be corrected in order to be in full compliance with state statute, board policy, and the charter agreement that they all sign. And it's an annual report. Ashley, please proceed. You'll see the list of items here, and I believe this presentation is posted online, so I will not read off all that. I think you are pretty much familiar with all those different points, but it does show that we track quite a few things. This is, again, something we take proud. We are proud of the accountability that charter schools follow. We think that charter schools go above and beyond to be accountable and be responsible for the students they serve. And here we have the new goal, which is a seamless carryover of the individual goals that we had. Goal 2 is to improve school and district performance by 2025. Objective 8 is to increase the number of charter schools meeting academic, operational, and financial goals. And it just so happens that that is exactly what we look at in the performance framework. So we're going to look at academic outcomes from the 18-19 year. Of course, this will look different next year since there was no academic data for 2020, but we will come to that and cross that bridge when it comes. For now, we have 16 academic measures. 12 of those are a met or not met measure. We will look at those individually. Next slide, please. So here we start getting into the results. We did surpass our target for schools receiving an A or B. which we're happy to report. Of course, with these percentages, it's worth noting that the number of schools has increased and it continues to increase year after year. So we are happy when we can see percentages remain steady and of course when they go up. We still did not meet the target 75% of schools meeting or exceeding growth. We did move up 0.5 percentage from the previous year. And again, to state for anyone listening online, the actual percentage of A and B schools was 44.4%, and the target was 43.5%. So we are happy about that and hope that continues to go up. And here we look at 4 years. Of course, we no longer have the A plus NG rating. So for the last 2 years, we have A, B, C, D, F. Again, fortunately, we had a little bit of an increase, actually from 15 to 20 A schools, which is a very good thing. We want to continue to see that trend. B schools also went up by 4 schools from 55 to 59. C schools went down, and I did do a separate in-depth analysis of C schools, and most did remain C from year to year. A few did move into the B category, and a few did move into the D category. No one jumped to Lexile points, so we didn't have any A's go to C, or C go to A, or F go to C, or C go to F. We did have an increase in D and F schools. The F schools do include the 2 schools that closed in the 2018-19 year. That's something, of course, we want to see go down. We also want to see the number of D schools that increased from 29 to 33 from 18 to 19 academic years. We want to see that go down. It should be noted, I'm sorry, Ashley, 2018 to 2019 was somewhat of a low year. We did, from 17 to 18, we saw kind of an opposite movement where we saw the number of F schools go down from 13 to 8. And so, yeah, we're looking at this year by year, and of course we won't see 2020, so we just hope to see improvements in the 2021 year academically in general with this report. Now, next slide, please. So again, we had 2 schools close. We did include the academic data in the percentages that we report overall. For full transparency, the percentages do not include 2 schools that did not have tested grades, so they were serving grades K through 2, and 4 schools that are under the alternative accountability model. So really, we're looking at 178 schools with these percentages. We had increased, or I'm sorry, we decreased from 17, 18, 18, 19 percentage of C or better schools went down from 77.8% to 75%. And we saw an increase in D and F schools from 22.2% to 25%. Again, the years 17 to 17, 18, we saw an improvement, and then we saw a bit of a decline from 18, 19. So we hope to reverse that part of the trend. Next slide, please. This is the negative takeaway from 18-19 school year. We had an increase in low-performing charter schools to 40, which makes up 22% of overall charter schools. The target is 25, so we want to see that come down significantly. Continually low-performing increased from 28 to 37. That brings us to 20% of charter schools rated as continually low-performing in the 18-19 year. That target is, I believe, 9. Unless that's changed from the previous year, we want to see that drop big time. So we have our work cut out for us as charter school leaders. Next slide, please. This is a little bit different of a chart than we've had in previous years. I combined the subgroups. So we were looking at the exceptional children population, economically disadvantaged, American Indian, Hispanic, white, black, male, and female. And these are significant populations. So we're looking at schools that had more than 10 students in each of these groups. That's why, so total for EC, we're showing 171, economically disadvantaged, 168, etc. And the blue shows schools that are meeting the comparability goals. So again, percentage, 5%, within 5% of the local LEA's average score. We've talked in the past about how accurate this comparison is. We are trying to be accurate by showing schools that have populations of more than 10. I actually do have a separate spreadsheet that includes up to, I think it's 80, it's actually over 100 instances where we had between 1 and 10 students. And for the record, there were 89 that would have been considered met and 57 that would have been considered not met. But again, those are populations that are below 11, and in accordance with FERPA and the data management group policy, we are showing significant populations here. And you can see those percentages. We do have the majority, a significant majority of our schools meeting that comparability measure. And that takes care of 8 of the accountability, the academic measure in the performance framework. And stop me at any point if there are any questions. I will, of course, answer any questions at the end. I know this slide is shown. Want to make sure we're ready to move on. Okay, Ashley, can you please proceed? So then overall, D5 is the academic measure that looks at grade level percentage comparable to the LEA. We had 69%, or 125 schools of the 182 that this was applicable to, again, including the 2 schools that closed. I did note that schools operating in years 1 to 9 made up 56 of those, and schools operating beyond 10 years made up a little bit more, 69 schools that met this comparability goal. Proceed to the next slide, please. And then a very similar one, we're looking at college and career readiness. Here it was a little bit lower of a percentage, 118 schools, 51 operating in years 1 through 9, 67 operating in years 10 plus. We have a question. I heard someone beep. Okay, please proceed. And then we look at operational and financial outcomes. That's section A, operational, and section C of the performance framework. And of course, the financial outcomes we receive from the Financial Business Services Division. Operational, for the most part, the Office of Charter Schools determines, but there are a few that we receive from other agencies such as school nutrition, English learners, Department of Health and Human Services, and 1 or 2 others. For I know A7, which is the 10% ADM target, that comes from Financial Business Services as well, I believe. Ashley, correct me if I'm wrong on that. But yeah, we receive from them. So, looking at trends, we again surpassed the goal of charter schools meeting or exceeding all financial and operational goals. It should be noted, and I'll show the financial results separately, but we had, if we were just looking at operational, we actually only had 2 schools fall below the meeting expectations there. So it would have been 99%. If it were just operational, we did have a few schools get into a little bit of trouble with their financial results, and those were mostly due to low enrollment numbers. So we are happy to see that 2 consecutive years of surpassing that target of 90%. And then looking at individual exceeding, meeting, or not meeting. Not meeting means that they fell below 80% of compliance on all the measures that are applicable to them. So we saw an increase from the previous year of those getting 100% on everything. So we're very happy to see that. It came out to 63 schools, which make up 34.6% that exceeded all operational and financial expectations. Those schools received a badge that we drew up at DPI. They were able to display on their website and using the marketing materials. One way we can do a little bit of a positive incentive or performance framework, so it's not always good job or not. Okay. We did again see a decrease in schools not meeting those expectations. We are happy about that. The renewal schools, everyone made it. One school missed one measure. I think it had to do with graduation requirements matching their charter. So that's something that Ms. Cooper is diligent in working with them on. But we had 19 schools exceed expectations, 1 school meet expectations. You can proceed, Ashley, if there are no questions. So we get to financial compliance here. We had 2 schools that were not marked non-compliant, but rather unresolved, meaning they were working through their issues. We had 5 schools who were marked non-compliant. I think it's worth noting that they were all schools that were operating within 6 years. So maybe with a little bit of more time and experience, we can expect schools to not have any of these financial issues. And again, they came from, I think one had power school issues, accounting issues with power school management, and then the rest were the reasons given by the financial business division was that they had low enrollment numbers. So put on probationary status as a warning to try to help them improve those practices. Okay, so then we go into the summary of all the measures. We see operational, renewal, financial, and academics. So we can see the darker area at the bottom of each of those shows exceeding all expectations, meaning getting 100%. The light gray shows meeting expectations, and then the dark gray at the top of each of those bars shows falling below 80% of the measures. Of course, the most the one negative area is with academics. We had a little bit of a rough year. I think all schools did across the board in the 18-19 year. We want to see continuous improvement in that category and hope we see that in the 2021 academic data. So then this year we do something a little bit different. We're going to do a brief update on the performance of the 2 North Carolina virtual charter schools. You heard from the Cyber Academy folks here, just kind of a brief historical recap. And you can read the slide there. We have Cyber Academy 00A, who used to be Connections Academy, and the NC Virtual Academy 00B are the 2 virtual charter schools. They were authorized by the General Assembly in Session Law 2014-100, so a different process than we usually do, where the Charter Schools Advisory Board vets and makes recommendations to the State Board. That pilot was extended by Senate Bill 99, now goes through the 2023 school year. There is a process, annual presentations, requests for data, including enrollment, attendance, and withdrawal data. And the Cyber Academy appears monthly, as you all know, as part of their management company termination amendment stipulation. Here, I kind of threw together basically not much to show, as Mr. Hill said in their presentation, and also NC Virtual Academy. Both schools were given a D designation each of their 4 previous years of operation. They both did not meet growth any of those years. And then you could see a focus in on the school performance grade percentage numbers. You saw they had a big dip in 2016-17, again zoomed in, and definitely want to see improvements there. Of course, that's looking statewide. And now this slide has a lot going on, so I'll explain. This is again a comparability for subgroups. If I'm not mistaken, the 2 virtual academies, their local LEA average is compared to the Wake County LEA average, as opposed to the average statewide. And again, we're looking at academically and intellectually gifted students, students with disabilities, economically disadvantaged students, English learners, Asian students, Black students, Hispanic students, multiracial students, and white students, respectively. And again, these are significant populations, and this comes from the accountability division. So we show on the top left, NC Cyber EOC, right, NC Virtual EOC, bottom left, NC Cyber EOG, and bottom right, NC Virtual EOG. Are there any questions about that? We're looking at each of the 4 years. Okay, Ashley, can you go to the next slide? From the federal CEDARS data, we can see the total number of students. Now, you'll note that these numbers are higher in some cases than the statutory limit on enrollment, on initial enrollment. So what this indicates is there was some significant turnover, so students leaving and others joining throughout the year where it's higher than the statutory limit. This does demonstrate that there is demand for a virtual education setting, despite historical struggles with performance. It's also worth noting that with new leadership this year, I think it's a safe assumption that virtual school students experienced less disruption of learning than their brick and mortar peers who had to transition from brick and mortar to online learning. That is an assumption, of course. So we will know for sure in the 2021 academic data. Hopefully we'll have some internal benchmark measures that will show improvement for the 1920 and the 2020-2021 school years. All right, can you go to the next slide, Ashley? And this is the last one, and I do apologize. I realized this morning that I have my old phone number there, but email is preferable. joseph.laterio@dpi.nc.gov. Please, if you ever have any questions, if I could ever help in any way, you know how to reach me. Email is preferable, and I think you all have my cell phone. Of course, while we're teleworking, I'll always be happy to give my cell phone out to a school leader, certainly to a CSAB member. Are there any questions at this point about the 2019 performance framework or moving forward?
Joseph, this is Sherry. I don't have a question, but once again, I'd like to thank you for a great report. I love the details and I appreciate your hard work.
Thank you, Sherry. A great team, and happy I can be part of it.
thanks, Joseph, for the really detailed report and a lot of great data in there. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So the board, this is Ashley, the board will need to recommend whether to approve this or recommend approval to the state board. It will go to state board in August.
And I'm sorry, I didn't mention there is the written report that expands on this data, and that I believe Ashley uploaded eBoard as well. So that's in draft form to hopefully go to the state board in August.
This is Cheryl. I move that we accept the report to recommend it to go to the state board.
This is Hilda Parlay. I second that.
All right. All in favor? Why don't we do a roll call vote?
Jeanette Butterworth,
Aye.
Chris Friend,
Aye.
Rita Hare,
Aye.
Lynn Kroger,
Aye.
Hilda Parlay,
Aye.
Alex Quigley,
Aye.
Sherry Reeves,
Aye.
Cheryl Turner,
Aye.
and Stephen Walker. Okay, passes unanimously. All right, our next item is just a quick discussion about the renewal policy. You recently had discussed as a board, and I believe you voted on a possible renewal scenario for the upcoming cohorts due to the lack of data for this academic year. And there's been more discussion on that. So I believe Shonda Cooper is here to discuss that with you.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I just want to give you, hi. So in preparation of moving forward with last month's discussion, we found that it will be best to move forward with the data that we currently have based on legislation, GS 115C-218.6. We can use the immediately preceding data, which is available, to provide a report to you. That also leaves for the Charter School Advisory Board the guidelines and the flexibility to make the decision that you see fit for those schools with consideration to everything that's presented to you. One of the other things that came up in preparation was that COVID legislation for low-performing schools and continually low-performing schools were at a stay, meaning those schools maintained their label at this time. And so providing them an option was almost contradictory. So moving forward, we would have a presentation in October as normal, where the schools will be packaged to you just like they've always been, clean and cut. I will double back with each school to make sure that everything that's presented to you as normal is exactly what's stated and what we've all discussed and come to the table with. But we would proceed as normal with the renewal discussion and decisions with your flexibility in making those contract decisions. Are there any questions for me?
Shauna, this is Sherry. When will we be making our recommendation?
Usually we make a recommendation in December. We have the presentation in October. Schools come, or they would probably virtually be online to discuss any issues that they have in November. And then in December, you make your actual recommendation to the State Board of Ed.
Thank you.
You're welcome. If there aren't any other questions, I'm always available. Anyone that needs to speak to me regarding this topic, you can email me, or my cell phone number. I feel like my cell phone number is just public knowledge now, but it's totally available to you. If you have questions, you want to follow up, I'm more than willing to speak with you one-on-one. Absolutely.
Thank you, Shonda.
Thanks. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Our last item is the director's update for the month of July. Dave.
Okay, thank you. This will be quick. I just want to let everybody know that the State Board of Ed did approve CSAB's RTO recommendations. And I really want to thank Chairman Quigley for helping present that. He's a huge help, and thank you very much. Three Rivers relocation was approved with some stipulations. I think we've already sent you what those stipulations were. They did discuss Harbridge enrollment request and the NC access recommendations. And they also voted on the CARES Act. There's 10% that was in the reserve fund, and they had a pretty long discussion about that. And the good news is charter schools, the money was divided up amongst charter schools according to their Title I population ADM. So if we have charter schools that did not participate in the Title I program for whatever reason, they received no funds. The State Board voted to give every charter school that is not a Title I school $45 per student. And if any Title I charter school received less than $45 per student, they were given the difference. So this was great news. This equaled about $2.2 million. So, and this is to help offset COVID-19 expenses. As far as OCS updates, at this time I want either Jay or Dr. O'Neill to give a quick update on the NC access. We've been highlighted by a national publication, and I wanted them to talk about it quickly. I don't think that our NC access program or team gets enough due for what the difference we're making in North Carolina. So if you guys want to talk about that quickly.
Sure, thanks, Dave. Good morning, board members. We were selected as one of 4 state entity grantees to be profiled by the National Charter School Resource Center. So they're putting together grantee profiles that demonstrate exceptional practices, including key elements of our state initiative, major grant activities with a primary focus on disseminating and identifying best practices. So a big part of our profile is our work around the fellowship and some of the portfolio work and the dissemination work that will happen in the upcoming years. And then in addition to that, we've been selected as one of 2 of those 4 grantees to present in a Charter School Resource Center webinar to talk through our grant activities and what was highlighted in the profile. And we'll be happy to share that report and a recording of that webinar with the board once they're published. So Dr. O'Neill, if you have anything additional to add, feel free.
No, I don't. Good morning.
Okay. All right, thank you, Jay and Barbara. You guys are doing a great job. We really appreciate that. Again, the application process is for new schools is ending on July 24th. And then what Dr. Jones put in the chat, with 51 in the system right now, we're going to try to keep you from having a 3-day meetings in September and October, but we'll find out exactly how many actually do complete the process. And 9 accelerated applications, which is interesting. And we are in some conversations with several schools that are hopefully will submit a replication application. So that's exciting. We do have a virtual huddle. We usually have a regional huddle every year at a different school where the charter school leaders come in for professional development. We're going to be doing that virtually, and it's on July 28th. Very excited about that. And this is our July meeting, and if I can, I'd like to reflect a little bit on the year that we just finished. And I just can't not thank my OCS team enough. Not only are they doing all the same workflows that they've been doing in the past, as you can see, everything is still going on. Applications, renewals, RTO, performance framework. You just saw that. There's a huge lift on our office. Plus, all the COVID-19 related work that we've had to do. We have quite a few team members are on DPI staff committees. We're answering phones. just want to give my team a huge thank you for their hard work to keep Officer Charter School running. I think our workload seems to have tripled instead of slowed down working remotely. But I just want to close with telling you how much I appreciate our OCS staff. And that's it.
And I think your team makes you look very good.
And that is hard to do.
No, you're all quite a team.
You got a great team and great leadership. We're excited to. It's been an interesting year. This officially closes it out. Last meeting of our year, and we look forward to all the opportunities, not challenges, opportunities for innovation that come with what next year holds. It's going to be interesting to say the least. So I'm looking forward to continuing to work with this great board and with an outstanding Officer Charter Schools team. And with that, I'll call on Mr. Walker to make a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that we adjourn.
This is Rita, I second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Stay well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dave.